well is the ANC handling Ace Magashule's latest actions? Magashule has gone to court to have his temporary suspension as the party's Secretary General overturned, and he insists that his constitutional rights are being undermined here. So let's get some insight into this with political analyst Mr. Lukhona Mnguni. Quite a long time that I haven't seen you. Last saw you at the, what is this, the SONA?
SONA 2020,
Absolutely, pre-COVID, that is, but good to have you. Before we get into some of the, the legal battle details between Ace and the ANC, I want to get a sense from you, what you think of how the ANC handled the entire Ace Magashule, debacle leading to where we are right now in court, from, when the step-aside resolution was set aside by the NEC to when he indeed filed, to say that he wants to oppose his suspension.
Well, I think politically they've handled the matter quite badly. The first instance is that what should they have done about Ace Magashule in the moment when he showed defiance towards the leadership of the president of the ANC. And that was very early in 2018 when he was at the January 8 celebrations in Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal, where he spoke about the now famously quoted 5 years. That is a matter of that. The ANC didn't stamp its authority enough to say, but you can't behave in a manner that takes away from the authority of the president. And it was for the first time, I think, since the unbanning of the ANC that we saw such disconnect between the president and the Secretary General from the onset immediately after an elective conference. Now, when they then deal with the issue of step aside, it almost seems as if they've now found some leverage to act on him finally in the National Executive Committee, and they're impatient to demonstrate to the public that they are actually taking action on someone as senior as the Secretary General. But the problem is that they gave him leeway for special treatment. They said he can go and consult former President Thabo Mbeki, former Deputy President Matthew Sposa, former President Zuma. Now, they ought to have given him an opportunity to return to the NEC, to report on those engagements, and to seek the guidance of those leaders on what the deliberations were about, and then be able to take a very determinative decision from the NEC itself. I don't think someone as senior as the Secretary General can just be suspended by way of a letter. You can say he's not above the law of the ANC, that's great, but the political ramifications that come with, suspending a leader of that magnitude can be quite serious. It's like suspending the president over a letter as he did.
And I want to get into that. I'm glad you touched on that, because wasn't that sort of a sign that a long battle awaited the NEC here when we saw that bit of defiance from the SG saying, hey, if you're going to suspend me, I equally have grounds to suspend your ANC president?
No, absolutely. I mean, and he claims that he takes these powers from the ANC constitution to act on the authority of the NEC, whether he must be given a mandate or not, or he can act and then report to the NEC and the NEC validates his action. I suppose that will be partly ventilated in the court now, because he quotes quite liberally from the ANC constitution. But I think this idea of impatience to act is very important. The ANC is faced with a moral and credibility crisis, and by removing the Secretary General, it may be showing that things are finally moving. He raises an interesting point in his court papers, which is political, says, but there's factionalization of the manner in which the NEC is acting on this. That's a political issue. It doesn't take away from whether he can be disciplined or not. And I think something that people have been missing, which he has tried to feed to the public, is that only the branches can decide his fate. That is not true. The NEC has the authority to discipline everybody, including the Secretary General. Whether or not they are going about it the right way, that's what needs to be legally tested now.
Yeah, I have to let you go in just a minute because of time, but two questions for you very briefly. First thing, how do you think this legal battle will pan out between Ace Magashule as well as the ANC? They've also, through their spokesperson Pule Mabe, released a statement saying that they will be, of course, opposing his application in court. But equally so, do you think in his seniority as the SG he's just opened a can of worms where other members who have had to step aside might say, you know what, I equally feel that I've been treated unfairly and I might just take the legal route?
Well, he had indicated that, for example, the mayor of Mangaung, Oli, former mayor, let me see, Oli in the Free State, Mlamledi, will be going to court. I think what is at key here for the public is to check whether or not the ANC is behaving in a consistent manner. That resolution from NASREC, for example, says we disassociate ourselves publicly from those who are charged with corruption. And then you've got a structure in KZN taking a decision that they are going to support former President Zuma, who's appearing before the Pietermaritzburg High Court.
Right.
Is that structure going to be disciplined from straying from the Nasdaq resolution? So it's about consistency. It's not about Ace Magashule. What is going to aggrieve people is feeling that they are being purged and others are protected for merely being on the right side of the present-day politics and the ANC.
All right, we'll leave it there. Well, thank you so much, political analyst Lukhona. I'm going to go to see you again and to talk to you.